Hello and welcome to a new series on See the Pattern. In this series, we are going to be exploring some of the news stories that has caught my attention this week. The first story is about a gemologist, Brian Berger, who purchased an opal that appeared to have an insect entombed inside of it. Now, very similar to insects which have been frozen in amber and then fossilized. At first he didn't believe it was possible to actually have an insect trapped inside of an opal. But it appears that what has happened is that this insect was indeed trapped inside of amber and then underwent a process called opalization. Now, opals form normally within cavities within rocks, and if a cavity has formed because a bone or shell or pine cone was buried in the sand or clay that later became the rock, the conditions are right for the opal to form. Then the opal forms a fossil replica of the original object that was buried, and we get opalized fossils of two different kinds. One where the internal detail is not preserved, and the second is where internal detail is preserved. Now, this is a strange case because maybe what's happened is the outer casing has been opalized, but clearly the insect inside is not opalized. It still remains as the insect. So again, it's unclear whether this really is the explanation for what happened or whether there is another process which could cause this to happen. Second story that caught my attention was really the lunar eclipse. I was all prepared to watch it. Unfortunately, on the day that it happened, the cloud cover was so bad, didn't actually get to see it. But interesting enough, there are certainly places around the world where you could see it, and someone was actually able to capture a bright spark on the moon, which indicated that the moon was probably hit by a meteorite during the lunar eclipse. So a very cool photo indeed. Third article that really caught my attention was a research paper looking at the Trappist system, and they've done some modelling of both Trappist 1b and c, and basically they are suggesting that they are very likely candidates, that these two planets have what they term Alvan wings, which is basically they have a plasma sheath that extends outwards, and that these connect and couple to the star. And in fact, the way that the planets then rotate, this charge that could potentially build up on these planets could trigger solar flares. Now that's particularly interesting because one of the next episodes that I'm working on is looking at how an electric star could work, and this again is a clear indication that we are dealing with an electric system. And again, the question is, if that applies to the Trappist system, does this apply to our own solar system and other similar systems out in the universe? The final article is a bit of a scary one, really, a bit along the lines of Big Brother. China has apparently created an app that can tell you if someone near you is in debt and then encourages you to actually report them. Now this, on top of some of the changes that China has made in terms of benefits which are linked to how you behave, it's a very scary direction for any country to be heading in. The thought that your personal wealth, your situation is broadcast so publicly, and that people are encouraged to report you by looking on their phone. Very scary indeed. And that brings us to the end of some of the stories that have fascinated me this week. This is something that I'll be trialing out, so hopefully I will produce another one next week. Look out for Monday's episode, which will be on the impossibly early galaxy problem. And the following week I'll be starting, and I'm not sure whether that's going to be one episode or two episodes, but something that looks at the electric sun and the model for the electric sun. But for now, as always, follow the evidence, be brave, be curious. The truth is waiting for us. Until next time.